here in our backyards.
Overdose levels that local police haven't seen in years. The rising concerns after a significant drug bust.
Stress on social media over what some say is conflicting data on COVID-19 levels in North Dakota.
Plus, how a phone call with a local Slumberland employee may have saved a West Fargo woman's life. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
Our streets are a little safer tonight after a drug bust that authorities describe as significant.
It involves 1,400 M30 fentanyl pills, a drug that has been linked to several recent overdoses locally. Valley News Team's Katie Opperly explains the impact on our communities.
Local law enforcement say the seizure of so many fentanyl pills is part of a much larger picture tied to overdose rates on the rise in the community.
Knowing that that's happening, it kind of makes me take a few more precautions whenever I'm out and about.
Fargo police say these M30 fentanyl pills appear to be oxycodone, but are far more dangerous.
It's happening here in our backyard, so would honestly rather not have that here.
Authorities say that we are nearing overdose levels of 2016, when the spike across the nation was due to opioids. In 2016, Fargo police investigated 66 opiate overdoses, where 13 people died. This year, police say they are seeing a steady increase and hope to get these drugs off of the streets to avoid a worsening crisis.
Getting these off the streets and hopefully being one step further in this investigation in locating these traffickers can reduce the overdose deaths that are happening in our communities.
The bust, however significant, is just one battle in the continuing war that keeps law enforcement throughout the region looking and worried.
As long as drugs exist in our community, there's always going to be a concern.
In Fargo, Katie Opperly, Valley News Live.
Authorities have not released any names from last night's bust, but tell us several people are facing potential state and federal charges.
New at 10 tonight, 2 officers with the Louisville Metro Police Department have been shot during protests this evening. There's no word yet on their conditions. The protests followed the decision today that no one will be charged in Breonna Taylor's death. One of the 3 officers in question was indicted, but on unrelated charges.
Back at home, officers are now on the lookout for a man who left the Otter Tail County Detention Center and didn't come back. Rafael Buenfil left yesterday afternoon to attend his mother's funeral in Fergus Falls and was supposed to be back by 9 o'clock last night. Deputies ask that you call the sheriff's office if you know any information. The phone number 218-998-8555. A student has been suspended after bringing a loaded BB gun to school. We're told when the student arrived at Lincoln Elementary in Fargo this morning, he or she told a staff member about something in their backpack. That staff member saw the gun, then confiscated the backpack. A hallway was closed in the building and teachers and students were kept in their classrooms. No threats were made.
Cass County's risk level for COVID-19 has been switched from low to moderate. Governor Doug Burgum made the switch today, citing growing COVID-19 case numbers across the state, including in long-term care facilities. The moderate level means there is a heightened exposure risk, but transmission is under control. Governor Burgum says in the last week there have been 26 deaths in North Dakota, 7 today. The Department of Health is continuing to remind you to social distance, wash your hands often, and wear a mask.
Everybody's got the same task, and I think that task should be uniform across the state, which is we're trying to save lives and we're trying to keep the businesses and economy open. And so finding that balance.
The governor says residents and staff in long-term care facilities will be first on the list to get tested for COVID-19. Concern on social media as a COVID-19 risk level map from the Harvard Health Institute shows most counties in North Dakota in the highest risk category. The map shows a much different picture than the one provided by the State Department of Health. Valley News Team's Devin Fry brings us the data behind the risk levels.
For the past several days, many in North Dakota have been sharing this picture on social media, a post which compares 2 maps showing stark contrasts in their COVID-19 risk levels. The one on the left was provided by the North Dakota Department of Health, while the one on the right is from the Harvard Global Health Institute. The map from Harvard shows the majority of the state at the highest risk level. The reaction on social media, with what we can see from public posts, is showing a mostly negative response to the State Department of Health, with many accusing them of not accurately showing the risk level of COVID-19 here in North Dakota. When we reached out to the State Department of Health for comment, they told us that these two maps aren't exactly an apples-to-apples comparison. For the North Dakota Department of Health, they rely on a 14-day average of active cases per 10,000 people, along with the average number of tests performed and the percent positive rate. The Department of Health also told us that they factor in population density, deaths, hospitalization rates, and the current active cases within a county. The Harvard map uses only the 7-day average of new daily cases per 100,000 people. Because of this, 25 or more daily new cases gets that county put into the red category on the Harvard map. Let's do a quick example of how this data is applied. According to the Harvard map, McIntosh County in North Dakota is listed as a high-risk area, whereas the North Dakota Department of Health has it at the lowest risk level. According to the Department of Health, there have been 61 total COVID-19 cases in the area, but because of the small population in that county, the rate per 100,000 people there is 2,360, which is why it is classified as high risk on that Harvard map. The Department of Health will be looking to add more specifics on how their data is collected on their website in the coming days. Reporting from Fargo, Devin Fry, Valley News Live.
For the most up-to-date data on COVID-19 testing in North Dakota, just head to our website, valleynewslive.com. Let's take a look now at your daily COVID-19 numbers. North Dakota is reporting 475 new cases of COVID-19. 7 more people have died in the state, bringing the total to 203. The positivity rate is 6.83%. In Minnesota, there are 690 new COVID cases, along with 6 new deaths. More than 1,900 people have now died.
A vice presidential candidate made a campaign stop in Fargo today. Jeremy Spike Cohen, representing himself and the Libertarian Party presidential nominee Jo Jorgensen, spoke to supporters. Lightning delayed his speech, but Cohen eventually addressed the crowd at Lindenwood Park.
People in rural areas in the heartland of the U.S., we hear the same thing over and over again. I want control of my life back, and it's getting harder and harder for me to be able to live because of impositions by government. And so our policies are perfect for that.
Jorgensen and Cohen will be on the ballots in all 50 states for this year's presidential election. Votes are already being cast in North Dakota. They're coming in from those in military and living overseas. 379 voters in 57 countries have already cast their ballots.
Minnesota State University Moorhead released its 10-day enrollment numbers. It shows an overall decrease in undergrad students, while the number of graduate students is slightly up, setting a new record in that category at MSUM. These numbers are unofficial, though, with the overall head count at roughly 5,500, about 200 students less than last fall. The unofficial undergraduate head count is 4,440 students, and the graduate head count is nearly 1,100.
North Dakota has sold more out-of-state waterfowl licenses this year than last year, 900 more, according to the North Dakota Game and Fish. They tell us the increase comes from the COVID-related travel restrictions, attracting more residents from Minnesota and South Dakota.
There are some restrictions regarding travel to Canada that are probably going to have a few more folks coming to North Dakota. But then also just generally, we know folks are seeking more opportunities in the outdoors just to kind of get out and spread out and get away from everything.
Opening day is Saturday for North Dakota hunters and next Saturday, October 3rd, for non-residents.
Fans who had tickets to see Elton John this summer will have to wait until 2022. The artist announced his new tour dates today. He was supposed to play in Fargo and Minneapolis back in June. He will now play the Fargo Dome and Xcel Energy Center in March of 2022, the Fargo Dome on the 19th and Xcel on the 22nd and 23rd. If you want a refund, you have 1 month from today to request it. The singer says this farewell Yellow Brick Road tour will be his last.
Coming up, a story you won't want to miss, how this Slumberland employee in West Fargo likely saved the life of a complete stranger.
But first, storms moving through the region this evening. Hutch has the forecast right after the break.